evening, everyone. Well, it's Mrs. Suter. It's January the 5th. We're back to our after-school STEM with the Science Lady. Today, I'm going to tie in a little social studies with a little science, with a little engineering, with a little bit of math, kind of putting it all together. And we're going to talk about a lady who was very influential in our society and our world. And we probably didn't talk about her as much as we should when she was alive, but she died in September of this year. And so I wanted to talk to you a little bit about her and why she's important, and then we're going to do a little project that goes with it. So today we're going to talk about Ruth Bader Ginsburg, and she was a Supreme Court Justice. And the book that I'm going to be reading you is called I Dissent. And we're going to talk a little bit about some vocabulary before we get into it, because there's a few words you need to know, like the word dissent, what it means, and we're going to talk a little bit about what a Supreme Court Justice does. Okay, and the book covers a lot of that. So I'm going to start off by sharing with you my lesson. This is a picture of Ruth Bader Ginsburg. And these little collars that she wears are pretty important, and you're going to see that in the book. And so when we're finished, I might ask you what color or why is she wearing this particular collar on her robe? Okay, and we're going to talk about the scales of justice, scales of the justice system. Okay, so a few words you're going to need to know are the word dissent. And that's what the name of the book is, I Dissent. And dissent means you disagree, especially when you're in the minority. That means everybody else agrees with something and you disagree with it. That means you dissent. And I think Ruth Bader Ginsburg has been known as a person who disagrees with the majority of the people on the Supreme Court, but she did a lot of great work. And so you're going to see the word I dissent all through the book, and words that go along with that are synonyms like disagree, differ, those kinds of things. And so we're going to be looking at that word in here. The other one is equality, and equality means that you're making sure that the groups of people are treated the same, that you don't treat one group differently because of their race or their gender or their beliefs. So it's treating people equally no matter of what their race is. That means their ethnicity, the color of their skin, their gender, whether male, female, whatever, or their beliefs. So we're going to talk about equality and why that is important. And then the last word is we're going to talk about justice. And justice is standing up for what is fair and right. So when you stand up for what you think is right and what you think is fair and what you think was equality, then you're doing justice. Now this right here is the symbol of justice, and it's called Lady Justice. And we're going to talk a little bit about what Lady Justice, why she has the symbols that she does. But first we're going to look at our book called I Dissent. And I did put a video of it on my slide, and this is the book here, and you can go on YouTube and you can look at and listen to the story I Dissent again. It's written by Debbie Levy, and it is illustrated by Elizabeth Baddeley. And so I'm going to read it to you, but if you want to listen to it again, if you go onto YouTube, there is a video of it being read aloud. Okay? So, but I'm going to read it to you because this is a book that I really, really love, and I like the the equality and what it talks about in the book. So it's called I Dissent. Okay? So, and that is supposed to be Ruth Bader Ginsburg as a younger child. So it starts off, it says, you could say that Ruth Bader Ginsburg's life has been one disagreement after another. So we see disagreement with creaky old ideas, with unfairness, with inequality. Ruth has disagreed, disapproved, and differed. She has objected. She has resisted. She has dissented. Disagreeable? No. Determined? Yes. This is how Ruth Bader Ginsburg changed her life and ours. So in 1940, Little Ruth's neighborhood was vibrant with immigrants, people from Italy, Ireland, England, Poland, and Germany, Jews from Russia, like Ruth's father, Nathan Bader, and people from different cultures with different holidays, different foods, and different traditions. But in all these families in Brooklyn, New York, and in all families everywhere, One thing was the same. Boys were expected to grow up, go out into the world, and do big things. Girls? Girls were expected to find husbands. Ruth's mother disagreed with that. Celia Amster Bader thought girls should also have the chance to make their mark on the world, so she took Ruth to the library. On the shelves were stories of girls and women who did big things. Ruth read about Nancy Drew, girl detective. She discovered Amelia Earhart, who was a daring aviator. She learned of Athena, the goddess of Greek myths. Here were independent girls and women taking charge. Ruth read her way into this world. Around her, the sweet scent of books blended with the savory aromas from the Chinese restaurants downstairs. Delicious. A girl can be anything. Sometimes Ruth and her parents took car trips out of the crowded city, and as they drove past the hotel in Pennsylvania, Ruth saw a sign, "No dogs or Jews allowed." Now, if you remember, the Ginsburgs or Ruth Bader's family was Jewish. This is how it was in those days. Hotels, restaurants, and even entire neighborhoods announcing, "No Jews, no colored people, whites only, no Mexicans, white only, not welcome." Ruth and her family were Jewish. This was prejudice, pure and simple. Now it was Ruth's turn to disagree. She disagreed by never forgetting how it felt to read such words. She never forgot the sting of prejudice. In elementary school, Ruth was excellent in some classes and less excellent in others. Her favorites were English, history, and gym. In those, she did well. But then there was handwriting. Ruth was left-handed. Back then, teachers told left-handers they should try to write with their right hands. Ruth's right-handed penmanship was so bad she earned a D on her penmanship test. She cried. Then she protested. Ruth protested by writing with her left hand from that day forward, and it turned out she had quite nice handwriting. Ruth also had a little problem with sewing and cooking. These were her least favorite classes, but girls had to take them. Boys took shop, where they worked with saws and other tools. Ruth objected. She wanted to take shop. She wanted to handle a saw. She didn't get what she wanted. It may have been unfair to girls and to boys, but Ruth was learning that sometimes life was like that, unfair. Ruth loved music. She especially loved opera. In music class, she lifted her voice in song. This time it was Ruth's music teacher who objected, gently. Ruth simply could not carry a tune. The teacher asked Ruth not to sing out loud in the chorus. Ruth kept on singing, in the shower and in her dreams. She continued to adore opera, too. By the time Ruth was in high school, friends and teachers knew her as an outstanding student, baton twirler, cello player, and newspaper editor. As graduation approached, Ruth was chosen to make a speech at the ceremony. She had been keeping it a big secret. Her mother was but she had been keeping a big secret. Her mother was terribly sick. The day before graduation, Celia Bader died. There was no agreeing with this. There was no disagreeing. This simply was. Ruth did not go to her graduation. She did not give her speech. Still, Ruth knew what her mother wanted. 3 months later, she left home to attend college. Not many girls went to college in the 1950s. Ruth made friends, but she also met girls who excluded Jews from their clubs. She met boys who thought girls should be looking for husbands, and then she met Martin Ginsburg. Marty was tall and funny. Ruth was small and serious. Marty could make her laugh. They fell in love and hatched a plan. After college, they would go to law school, both of them. Lawyers, Ruth had learned, could fight unfairness and prejudice in courts. People thought it was a fine idea for Marty to attend law school. They didn't think Ruth should go. A lady lawyer? People disapproved. Ruth disapproved right back. So did Marty. They got married, they went to law school, and they had a baby, Jane. Ruth's law school class had a total of 9 women and 500 men. She studied mightily and tied for first place in the class, and yet at graduation time, no one would hire this brilliant new lawyer. Why not? Well, she was a woman. Men didn't want to work with a woman. She was a mother. Men thought a mother wouldn't pay attention to work. She was Jewish. Many people were still prejudiced. 3 strikes against her, but Ruth was not out. She resisted and persisted. Finally, a judge hired her, and she worked like mad for him. After that, one law school hired her, and then another. Ruth became one of the few female law professors in the whole country, and she did it with a new baby at home, James. Ruth had disagreed and worked her way into being a lawyer and professor, but around her, other women were excluded from jobs. When they did get jobs, they earned less than men. They were kept out of important roles in courts and government. To make matters worse, the Supreme Court of the United States, the highest court in the land, approved all of this. As one Supreme Court justice had written years before, the natural and proper timidity and delicacy which belongs to the female sex evidently unfits it for many of the occupations of civil life. In other words, women and girls were too shy and weak to do big things in the world. Another Supreme Court opinion declared, women have always been dependent upon man. Ruth really disagreed with this. So Ruth went to court to fight for equal treatment of women. The most important cases went to the Supreme Court. The first time she appeared there, Ruth was so nervous she feared she might be sick. But standing before the 9 Supreme Court justices, Ruth imagined them as her students. She, Professor Ginsburg, needed to treat these students, who were all men, why a person's choices shouldn't be limited just because she was born a girl. Ruth wasn't only fighting for women. When women were excluded from the work world, men were excluded from home life. Why shouldn't a father stay home to care for his children and cook the meals? Why shouldn't his wife run a business? These were fresh ideas in the 1970s. Ruth did not win every case, but she won enough. With each victory, women and men and girls and boys enjoyed a little more equality. Sometimes Ruth and Marty's children received confused looks when they said that their mother argued cases in the Supreme Court and their father made the family's dinner. People thought this strange. Ruth, Marty, Jane, and James did not concur. That means they didn't agree with that. They kept on being the type of family they wanted to be, and dinner at the Ginsburg's home were delicious. Marty was a successful lawyer, but also a marvelous chef who had mastered the art of French cooking. Ruth, her family knew, had mastered the art of burnt pot roast. Ruth became well known as a lawyer, so well known that President Jimmy Carter chose her to be a judge in Washington, D.C. Then Ruth became known as a first-rate judge, and President Bill Clinton asked her to be the justice on the Supreme Court. Along with the 8 other Supreme Court justices, her job would be to decide the most significant cases and answer the most difficult legal questions in the United States. Ruth agreed. In 1993, Justice Ruth Bader Ginsburg became the first Jewish woman on the nation's highest court. In each case the Supreme Court considers, after hearing from lawyers who argue for each side, the 9 justices take a vote. The side that gets the most votes wins the case. The justices who agree write an opinion to explain the court's ruling. When Justice Ginsburg votes with the winning side, she wears a special lace collar over her robe. But many times when the Supreme Court announces decisions, Justice Ginsburg disagrees. I dissent, she would say. And she writes her, and she says, and she writes her own opinion explaining why. Plus, she wears a different color just for dissenting. So she wears this one when she disagrees, and she wears this one when she agrees. I dissent, Justice Ginsburg said when the court wouldn't help women or African Americans or immigrants who had been treated unfairly at work. I dissent when the court rejected a law meant to protect the right of all citizens to vote, no matter their skin color. I dissent when the court said no to schools that offered African Americans a better chance to go to college. Justice Ginsburg can be very convincing. In one dissent, she explained why the court was wrong to rule against women workers who were fighting to get paid the same as men. Congress and the president agreed with her and passed the law to undo the court's ruling. Justice Ginsburg has disagreed most often with the legal views of Justice Antonin Scalia. But they didn't just complain. I dissent. No, I dissent. They shared their conflicting ideas. Each pointed out weaknesses in the other's arguments. And after the opinions were written, the two justices had fun with each other. They didn't let disagreements about law get in the way of a long friendship. Here they are parasailing in France. Here they are riding on an elephant in India. Justice Ginsburg is now the oldest member of the Supreme Court. Some people have said she should quit because of her age. Justice Ginsburg begs to differ. She works as hard as ever. She exercises in the gym. She never misses a day in court. She attends the opera, gives speeches, and travels. Many have cheered Justice Ginsburg for her persistence and independence. They have called her a rock star, a queen, a goddess, a hero. Of course, Ruth Bader Ginsburg isn't a rock star, a queen, or a goddess, but to many, she is a hero. She made change happen, and she changed minds. She cleared a path for people to follow in her footsteps, girls in college, women in law school, and everyone who wants to be treated without prejudice. Her voice may not carry a tune, but it sings out for equality. Step by step, she has made a difference. One disagreement after another. Now, in the back of the book, you'll find a lot of pictures of her and a lot more biographical information of Ruth Bader Ginsburg. And you can learn a lot more about her. And then this is notes on her Supreme Court cases and a bibliography of more information that you could look at to get more information on her. But she did die in September of this year. And so I wanted to make sure that we celebrated her life by reading her book, learning a little bit about her, and then doing a STEM activity that goes along with it. Okay, so I suggest you go get that book. It's an awesome book to have. So now we're going to talk about what our project is. Okay, so I want you to see Lady Justice here. Now, Lady Justice is a symbol of justice, and you can see these statues standing outside of many courthouses throughout the world. And it is shown, this is a blindfolded woman carrying a sword and a set of scales. Now, if you look at this, you can see that the scales that she's carrying right here, they represent weighing evidence. So people who are for it and people who are against it need to give the evidence of why they believe those things. It's presented and weighed. Then whoever side has the most compelling argument wins. She's blindfolded. The blindfold represents being objective. That means people making decisions based on facts and not influenced by who is on trial or who the person is. So they're not looking at a person's skin color or their beliefs or their gender. They're just looking at the facts and determining the evidence or determining the decision based on facts. And the sword right here represents punishment for those who are found guilty of a crime. So notice that the sword is below the scales of justice. So after they weigh the evidence, this is the most important thing. Then if there's more evidence that the person is guilty, then punishment is given. So that's why the statue, why this symbol is like it is. Okay, So let's talk for a minute. What is something that you think is unjust? What is something that you think is unfair? It could be something unfair against children or against girls or boys or any kind of group in the community based on gender or on your skin color or your religion. Name something that you think is unjust. Maybe it's based on age. Okay. So I want you to think of something that you think is unjust or not fair. Okay, you can jot it down. Now, Ruth Bader Ginsburg, she was a young woman, and men didn't have, young women and men, let me start over there. When Ruth Bader Ginsburg was young, men and women did not have the same opportunities. Ruth was a girl and was basically told to find a husband, cook, and clean. That is not what she wanted to do with her life. So she fought those injustices, became a lawyer, and eventually a Supreme Court judge, as we said. And this is a picture of her in real life before she passed. So you are a member of the Supreme Court. And as part of the court, it is your job to weigh all the evidence before making a final decision. And weighing the evidence means that you listen to both sides and you try to make a fair decision. Okay? So Ruth Bader Ginsburg used her position as a lawyer and as a Supreme Court justice to fight for equality. She believed that no one should be treated differently because of their race, their gender, or their beliefs. So in order for you to weigh the evidence, you are going to need to build a scale of justice. So your challenge today is to design and build a scale of justice. Okay, once you've completed your scale, you're going to try to balance different objects on your scale. And this represents how our justice system works to promote fairness and equality. So I'm going to give you certain tools, and if you came by the board office, you could pick up a bag that have all the things that you would need to build your scale. Now, I'm not going to tell you how to build it. That's something you're going to need to figure out. But if you look at a scale, it has, this is what we call the main bar here, and then we have a crossbar, and this crossbar moves so that we can have two objects on the ends that hold things. And so this bar moves to show which is heavier. So if I put heavier objects in this whole bar will come down and this one will go up to show this has more evidence or more weight. And if this one does, this will go down and this will go up. So this bar has to move, whereas this bar has to stay still and be the support. So I need you to think of how would you build that? How would you build something with a support and a moving bar and two places to hold evidence or objects? Okay, so here, so we're gonna end up weighing small items and balancing the scale, because when we balance the scale, then we are going to know if things have more evidence or not, and if our scale works. Okay, so here are your materials. You're going to get one wooden paint stirrer, looks like this, 2 medium plastic cups. You can use a pair of scissors. You're going to get 1 large binder clip, and a binder clip, sorry, let me grab mine. Binder clip looks like this, and then you get some yarn and a pencil. Okay, so let me end this for a minute. So you're going to get your paint stirrer, which is in there, or if you don't have a paint stirrer, you can use a ruler. A ruler will work fine, or you can even use a stick out of your yard. Okay, then you're going to use yarn, a binder clip, a pencil, and you can use scissors, and you need 2 cups. Okay, and if you come by the board office, you can pick all those things up. All right, so I'm going to want you to use those materials, and I want you to build a scale of justice. Then we're going to measure some things and see how it works. Okay, so I'm going to give you time to plan out and build your scale, and then when you're finished planning and building, we'll come back together and we'll discuss how you did. Okay, now remember, when you're building, you need to ask, what is the problem that you're trying to solve? Okay, so we're trying to do what? That's right, we're trying to build a balance scale, okay, so that we can weigh the evidence. Okay, so we need to do that. Now you need to imagine the best way to solve the problem on your own, and even sketch out your design and brainstorm a list of ideas. How will you use your materials? How will you use your binder clip? How will you use your pencil? How will you use your yarn? And what are some possible problems that you think could come up during instruction or construction? So I want you to think about all that and imagine how could you build that? Because remember, I need something that stands as a support, and I need another lever that moves, and I need something on each side that can hold the items that I'm going to weigh. So how can I build that with the materials that I have? Okay, then you need to sketch out your plan. So here you can sketch it out here, or you can sketch it out on paper. So you need to think about, well, I want to sketch out my plan. I want to sketch out what I'm going to use and how I'm going to put it together. And then you're going to build your balance. Okay? Now, after you build your balance, then we're going to talk about how they work. So remember to go through the engineering design process. Ask, imagine, sketch your plan, then begin to build. Okay, remember, if something doesn't work right, go back and iterate it, change it, improve it, make it better, and try again. So I'm going to ask you to go ahead and pause our video right here. Go ahead and sketch out, plan out, and begin creating your scale of justice. When you have it the way you want it, you can hit play, and then we will go on from there. Okay, I'm going to want you to share with me what you have built with your materials. All right, so when you're finished, come back and hit play on the video, and we will continue from there. All right, so I was thinking about my materials. Here's my binder clip, here's my pencil. And I went ahead and put together a couple things here. So I figured that I would use my paint stirrer as my thing that moves. And then I just put holes in my cups, and then I cut my yarn and use them to hold my cups. Now, the thing I was thinking about is, how do I get this to move? So I need something that supports it. So what I thought was, I could take my binder clip and I could put it on here and then use my pencil to kind of be the balance. Now, I can see that it's not balanced quite right. You can see that this side is down, which means it's heavier. So if I want to balance it out a little bit more, I'm going to move my binder clip a little bit to that side. Now I can see that it's more balanced. Looks like it's a little lower here, so maybe I'll move it just a smidgen back this way and balance it. Well, it looks pretty good. It's pretty balanced. Okay, now I can tape my pencil onto a cabinet or onto my desk, and I can measure without having to hold it like this, which is what my plan was going to be. I was going to use a piece of tape, and tape it onto my desk right here, and then my scale will, I can use it here. Now I can see once I have it down here, I'm going to go ahead and take that off, and I'm going to go ahead and tape it down onto my desk so that I have two hands to do my measuring. Okay, and if that's not enough, I may put on another piece just to make sure. Okay, now I'm going to pick up my, I lost one of my cups off of here. Well, actually, I lost both of them. So I'm going to do it again, wrap it. I think I'm going to go 1, 2, 3, 4. So I have 4 wrappings on that side. Let me see. But I want to make sure that my cup is kind of level. So I'm going to move that around. There we go. Now I want to make sure that I have the same on this side, because if I don't, it's going to cause me problems with my weight. 1, 2, 3, so 4. Now I need one more. 5. Okay, and again, I want to balance that out so that my cup is level. There we go. And now I'm going to put it back onto my pencil here, onto my binder clip, and I'm going to measure. Oh, I can see that side's lower. So I'm going to move my binder clip down. Oh, moved it too far. Now the other side's too heavy. There I go. Now that I have it taped down onto my desk, I can actually do some measuring. So I'm going to take some paper clips. What else do I have on my desk? Oh, and some lifesavers. So I can figure out how many paper clips does it take to weigh the same as a lifesaver. So I'm going to actually take it off my desk so that you can see, but I would probably weigh it on my desk while it's taped so I know that it's very sturdy. Okay, so I would put paper or my lifesaver in there, and now I'm going to measure 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Yep, 7, 8. Maybe let's try for 9. Let's get a smaller one. 9. There you go. So now it's balanced. So I know that 9 paper clips weighs the same as 1 lifesaver. So then it would make sense that 18 would be the same as 2. So I'll put 2 in there. I already have 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18. There I go. So I can see that my scale works pretty well. So I can measure out 2 things and see where they are balanced. Just like the scales of justice, they have to have balance. All right? So create your scale of justice, and then I want you to measure some things around your house, and you can record them on paper, what you measured and what they were equal to. Okay? So let's go back to our presentation here. Now, after you go through the engineering design process and improve it, you can play around with it and take some recordings of how much things weigh. Now, here's a little information from Wikipedia about Joan Ruth Bader Ginsburg. She was an Associate Justice of the Supreme Court of the United States from 1993 until her death on September the 18th of 2020. She was nominated by President Bill Clinton, replacing retired Justice Byron White, and at the time was generally viewed as a moderate consensus builder. That means she actually brought people to agreement. She was born March 15th, 1933 in Brooklyn, New York. She died September 18th, 2020 in Washington, D.C. And she was buried September 29th of 2020 in the Arlington National Cemetery in Arlington, Virginia. She has 2 children, Jane Ginsburg and James Stephen Ginsburg. These are some of her famous quotes. "My mother told me to be a lady, and for her, that meant to be your own person, be independent." She is also known as saying, "Women will only have true equality when men share with them the responsibility of bringing up the next generation." And another quote that's famous from her is, "The state controlling a woman would mean denying her full anatomy and full equality." Now, the last quote I have from her is here, and it's about fighting injustices, fighting against inequalities. And she put, "Fight for things that you care about, but do it in a way that will lead others to join you." That means don't disagree in a way that makes other people, that's bad for other people. Like, you don't want to hurt other people or destroy other people's property. You want to lead in a way that others want to join you. So you want to be a leader. So I want you to think about that when you see injustices in our world that you want to fight against. Fight for the things that you care about, but do it in a way that will lead others to join you. So I hope you enjoyed learning about Ruth Bader Ginsburg. If you want to do some more things, you could brainstorm some injustices that could be changed with new laws. You could write a letter to your congressman or congresswoman about the injustices that you would like to change. So I would love it if you would do one of those things. I would also love it if you would share with me your idea for the balance scale and what you measured. If you want to send me a video, if you want to send me pictures, or send me a copy of the letter you wrote, or your brainstormed list of injustices, my email again is M, as in Margie, Suder, S-U-D-E-R, at k12.wv.us. Have a great evening, and I can't wait to see you next week. Now, next week, we're going to be working on, I'm going to go ahead and turn my page here so I can see what the lesson is. We are going to be working on a lesson, DNA and biotechnology. I'm really excited about this one. It should be a lot of fun. Okay, so if you want to learn a little bit about DNA and biotechnology, come next Tuesday at 5:30, and I will see you then. All right, have a great evening, and I hope to see you next Tuesday. Bye.